Furnishings for legal access provided by 501 Furniture.
Good afternoon and welcome to Legal Access. It's noon, it's Thursday, it's Legal Access. It all kind of goes hand in hand. We get together once a week to give you the opportunity to ask those questions about the law that you've always wanted to know the answer to, but never had the opportunity. Alas, you have the opportunity here today. We're going to be talking about family law today. That involves a lot of different things, from divorce, separations, adoptions, custody. There's a lot of different things that you can call about, and we'd love to hear from you. Don't wait till the last minute. A lot of people wait till, I got to get the call in. Call now. We've got 30 minutes to talk to you. Phone number's the same as it always is. It's 848-8080. That's area code 843-848-8080. Give us a call here today, and we'll talk about family law and get those questions answered for you so that you can get them off your mind and get those answers you wanted. Here on the panel to answer those questions for you today, to my right from the McGuire Law Firm is Ian McGuire.
Good to see you, Dave.
To your right, want to welcome back David Wells.
Nice to be here.
And I think, David, last time that you were here, we also had the same guest on my other side, Heather Von Herman.
We did.
Yes.
It went so well last time. We got the same two great guests again. And Heather's in Conway, and she practices with her husband, Bert. And they do family court, which is, of course, the topic today. But what else does your firm handle?
We handle criminal matters and personal injury cases as well, along with some real estate.
Good, good. And they do a great job, and it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
And, of course, David, you practice here in Myrtle Beach, and primarily, if not completely, handle family court law. Yeah. Is there anything else that you do that you want to mention?
No, I handle primarily family court cases.
And as you know, that Dave is from our time on this show, that encompasses a lot. It's you know, not just divorce cases, but you have child custody, you have adoption. So there's a lot that goes on with family court, and we have two great guests to help us today, and it's always a popular topic, so thank you again for being here.
It is. We always get a lot of phone calls, so that's the other reason we don't want you to wait till the very end. Just go ahead and give us a call now, again, 848-8080. You know, we don't talk a whole lot about adoption. We don't get a ton of adoption questions, but, you know, that's like the bright spot in you, because a lot of you get is conflict, you guys, I'm sure, as far as divorce and separations and custodies and things like that. You know, adoption is something, Heather, that I'm sure that you like to deal with because it's a positive.
We love adoptions. It is one of the best things that takes place on the second floor of the courthouse, which is where the family court is located. Yeah. And so, anytime you get to go up there and do an adoption, that's a happy time for everybody. And the judges enjoy it, the lawyers enjoy it. And it's, a happy time in an otherwise sometimes bleak area of the law.
But, David, sometimes, when people talk about adoptions, it can be a long, arduous process depending upon who you go through. I mean, going through adoption agencies, and, a lot of people go to other countries to adopt. I mean, it's not a quick process.
No, there's a number of things that are required to actually go through an adoption. Sometimes it just takes time to go through it. Generally, there's a guardian involved. They have to do an investigation. There's private adoptions. There's adoptions to the Department of Social Services as well. So it does take time to get through the process.
As far as a private adoption, what kind of paperwork has to be done? I mean, if you found somebody, if you're a couple and you wanted to adopt this person's child when they're having it and didn't want to go through agency, I mean, can you do that privately? I mean, what?
You can. Generally, what we're doing is you have a guardian involved. They certainly, do their, they have things that they need to do to make sure that it's in the best interest of the child, as well as that. There's background checks and things of that nature just to make sure that everything is going well. So I agree with Heather. I mean, in my mind, one of the most exciting things that happens on the second floor.
Absolutely. 848-8080. Give us a call. We're talking about family law here today. Maybe this is kind of an opinion question, Heather, but I know that a few years back, South Carolina statutes, before you can get divorced, used to be 3 years. You had to be 3 years separated up until, how long ago did they change it to 1 year?
It's been a good little while. I can't tell you exactly, Dave.
It used to be 3 years because, the state used to think, well, if we made them stay together for 3 years, maybe they'll get back together because we don't want anybody to get divorced. Do you think that it's ever going to be lessened from 1 year down to anything less than that? Because other states have less than that.
There have been movements over time that people have tried to bring that 1-year statute down to 6 months and things like that, and they have not been successful. I think there is, from a public policy standpoint, I think our courts want people to give serious consideration to terminating their marriage, and for that reason, they want people to live separate and apart for a year on the no-fault ground divorce, in order to, among other things, contemplate whether that really is what's in their best interest and in the best interest of their family. Of course, if a party has fault grounds for divorce, they could get a divorce within 90 days. And by fault ground, I mean if your spouse has committed adultery, or there's physical cruelty, or drunkenness, habitual drunkenness, or drug use. So under those fault-based grounds, you can get a divorce in a shorter period of time, but in a no-fault divorce, I think we're going to be under that 1-year statute for a good little while.
And David, as far as separations are concerned, as Heather said, being separated apart is one of the major things, because a lot of people, economy-wise, would say, you know, I'd like to get divorced, but I can't move out. I can't afford to be in a different place. How about if she takes the downstairs and I take the upstairs, like War of the Roses or something like that? That's not working in South Carolina, is it?
No, that doesn't count, unfortunately. And many times people do ask that question as to whether or not, even if they can live upstairs and downstairs, sleep in separate beds as well. And to add to what Heather said, even if parties are separated for a year, generally when you get to the final hearing, you have to prepare your client and let them know that the judge is going to ask, is there any chance of them reconciling their marriage even after living separate and apart for a year? Sometimes clients, or the adverse side, will kind of look at the judge and say, I can't believe you're asking that question. We've been separate and apart for a year. But as Heather said, public policy encourages reconciliation. Under statute, they're required to ask that question. So
848-8080 is the phone number here as we're talking about family law. Give us a call. We got Beth in Myrtle Beach to start things off. Hi, Beth. Thanks for calling. What's your question today?
Hey, I'm just wondering about, I went to the courthouse and I got a bunch of papers, and they said that all I have to do is just, he has to fill out the papers, and I have to fill out the papers, and we can get the divorce without having an attorney. Is that true?
So you want to have a divorce, you're both in agreement, you've lived separate and apart for a year, you filled out the paperwork. Do you need an attorney? That's the question, right?
Yes, it is, yeah.
You don't. You can certainly have self-represented litigant packets in the clerk's office, which is what I believe you probably picked up, Beth. And if you all have gone your separate ways, divided up your property, and you want to go in and represent yourself at a final hearing to obtain a divorce, you can certainly do that. I would encourage you, though, if there are outstanding issues, that you consult with an attorney before you do that, because part of the problem is you may not know what you don't know. In other words, there may be some issues lingering out there that could crop up in the future. And so, although you may be able to do that, I would encourage you to talk with a lawyer before you proceed in that fashion.
And for instance, Heather, if you go to a hearing for a divorce, to prove that you live separate and apart from a year, you'd need an independent witness for that, right?
Right, that's correct. And so
we have the witness, but our mailing address is still we both have the same mailing address. Can we do that?
Well, you're gonna have to have some testimony about that, and this is exactly, I guess, what I'm saying to you about the fact that you may want to talk with a lawyer before you go in and do that, because those are the kind of questions that a lawyer would be able to help you answer and be able to instruct you on.
Yeah, I at the very least, sit down with an attorney, even if you don't actually end up hiring one and going to court with the attorney. I think it'd probably be in your best interest to at least have some counsel before you go forward. But best of luck to you.
Thank you. We just want to make it as simple as possible, but get it over with, too.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
All right, Beth, thanks for calling in. We do have to run to a break. I mean, there could be other things there as far as property, what's in somebody's names, bank accounts, insurance policies, and there could be a lot of things that you might not have thought of that, a lawyer might. All right, tell you what, we've got a couple of people on hold. Stay there, because we're going to be taking a very short break. As soon as we get back, we want to talk to you. We're talking about family law right here today on Legal Access. Welcome back to Legal Access. We're talking about family law here today, along with Heather Von Herman, also with David Wells and Ian McGuire. I'm Dave Priest. Our phone number is 848-8080, area code 843, of course. Don't waste any time. Get your calls in. We got plenty of people on hold already. Stay there. We'll get to you very shortly. Sharon's in North Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach. Sharon, thanks for holding through the break. What's your question for us here today?
Yes, sir. I have a granddaughter who is separating from her husband. They're going to get a divorce. She's got an appointment soon with an attorney. But in the meantime, she has moved out because of the anger in the house and an infant child. And so she wants to go back into the home and get her personal belongings and the things, like furniture, so she can rent a little house for her and the baby. And they're saying that she cannot go in and get her personal property or things that belong to her until she's given a court order or something. Is this the way it has to work?
David, what do you think?
Generally speaking, it's best if you're going to return to the home under the circumstances you just described would be to have a police escort and to get the personal property, which would include some clothes and toiletries and things of that nature. Generally, they're not going to allow you to remove furniture and things of that nature unless it's by mutual consent. I think it's best for her to meet with an attorney and to be advised properly on it. But generally speaking, it's best to have a court order to get to that point. But without a court order, I would certainly suggest having a police officer go with her.
Okay, so when she meets with this attorney, they will probably be able to issue her something with a court order getting her things out of the house?
The attorney should be able to give her the advice or advise her accordingly.
Okay, all right.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for your help.
All right, Sharon, thanks for calling, and good luck on that, too. Stacy's in Myrtle Beach for us right now. Hi, Stacy. What is your question for us today?
Hi. I do like your show, by the way. I love the fact that I could always come to y'all and get good advice. That's really great. Also, I've been separated from my husband as long as my daughter been born. He was a drug addict and also abusive. She's never seen him, and we split up and went our separate ways. Not a legal separation, but just split up and went our separate ways. I moved to Carolina. He moved to the last place I heard he was is in Iowa, I believe. But my question really is, she has never seen him, and he is, like I say, he is a drug addict. I would like to know if I could get full custody of my daughter.
How old is your daughter?
She is 13.
Okay.
She is turning 13 in this month, and that's as she never seen her father. She's never seen. They spoke. We got in contact with him on Facebook, and I did Messenger and tried to, kind of connect with him to be reasonable, because I heard he had a new family, twins and everything, and I thought he moved on, but it was getting very nasty.
Right.
And so I cut that off because he was telling her something about, you don't think Daddy could whoop you or something like that, and she got kind of scared,
Right.
even though, so, it was really turning out really bitter, and I want to know if I could get full legal custody and rights towards my daughter.
All right, Heather, after 13 years, what should she do?
So you and the child's father were never married?
We are married, still is, but I'm recently filing for a divorce. I just got the paperwork at the courthouse. It's so great that you all would touch on this question right now because I need the legal advice. We are separated, not legally separate, but we went our separate ways after we split up.
Right.
Okay.
We married, but 13 years ago, we split up.
So
Right.
what you will need to do is you will need to file an action not only for divorce, but you will need to file an action for custody of your 13-year-old child. The chances of you getting custody under these facts are very, very good. But I will tell you that he is going to have to be notified about the divorce action and the custody action. And so that's something that you're going to want to talk to a lawyer about, just as a procedural matter, how to go forward with that action and serving him so that you can get the relief that you're looking for.
Well, you know what? Let me mention the last time I found out he was in Iowa.
Right.
I don't know if he's there anymore. That's the last known address for him. How do I just mail the paper to the last known address?
Well, it's a little more complicated than that, Stacy. So again, I think that is one reason you'd want to speak with somebody and get some legal advice about how to effectuate appropriate service on him.
Yeah, they have ways. In your situation, they've got things in place for you to try to get in touch with them, and they'll be able to try. But yeah, what you need to do is to talk to somebody, a counselor, and they'll be able to help you out. So, Stacy, good luck with your situation. And everything's stacked in your favor. You just have some procedures and some hoops to jump through first, but I think you should turn out okay in this one. All right,
thank you.
All right, thanks for calling and thanks for watching all this time too. Let's go to North Myrtle Beach. We can fit Kristen in here before we have to go to a break. Kristen, thanks for calling in. What's your question today? Kristen, you there? Yeah, go.
My call.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. All right, let me give you a little background. My call is about an insurance beneficiary, part of a section that was part of a divorce decree more than a decade ago. My husband and I were both married before. I had no children. He had 3. And as part of that divorce decree, one of the stipulations was that his ex-wife remain beneficiary of any existing insurance plans, and that he would remain the beneficiary for any existing for her. Of course, it was for the children. They were minors at the time. They are both adults now with jobs, self-sufficient, emancipated, I guess you could say. We have remarried, obviously, and we now have a 1-year-old little boy. Now, through his job, he has actually switched everything over to me because of our little boy. Should the absolute worst case